right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Between the Speakers, brought to you by FUSER. I'm your host, Simon Rex, and look, this is about DJing, right? And if this is about DJing, I'm bringing you guys one of the most iconic, legendary pillars in the hip-hop DJ world. DJ Stretch Armstrong is going to be joining us today. I mean, honestly, like, this game is all about being a DJ. Well, this is who you're trying to be. This is who you want to be, okay? Stretch Armstrong, he's no joke. Oh, man, I've known Stretch for, over 20 years, from back in the New York era. And, you know, I'm a California baby. I mean, we're recording this now during a quarantine. Whenever you guys are watching this, I'm sure you'll relate. This has been a trying time. We're about 5 weeks into this quarantine, and a lot of people are forced to just stay inside, right? I'm a California baby. I'm from San Francisco. I live in LA now. I live out, actually just moved to Joshua Tree, so now I'm a desert baby. But I was a New York baby for 5 years. And when I was a New York baby, I love New York, don't get me wrong, but I'm not a New Yorker. You know, there's a famous saying, get in where you fit in, right? Well, I didn't like who I was becoming. I started talking like a New Yorker. I started walking faster. I started eating Ringlini every day. Bada boom, bada bing. Let me get a pizza, Joey. Yeah. I became that guy. And you know what? I didn't like it. I found myself becoming a bit more abrasive, a bit more, short-tempered. I became a New Yorker. You have to be to survive. I'm a chameleon. I adapt to my environment. What do you want from me? So after 5 years of living in New York, I had enough. And I think there's a famous saying, everybody should live in New York for 5 years, everybody should live in New York, but not too long that it hardens you too much. And everybody should live in Northern California, not too long that it softens you too much, right? It's like a famous quote. I forget who says it, but anyway, I've related to it because I'm from Northern California. And yes, it's true. A lot of hippy dippy stuff going on up there, make you too soft. But then on the juxtaposition of the regalia on the other side, New York can harden you too much. So I did not like me being too hardened, so I moved to Southern California, okay? So after 5 years in New York, I learned a lot about DJing because some of my friends were big DJs. And, I would go with DJ Mark Ronson to the nightclub, and I'd carry his records in for him and help him select the records and hand them to him. I mean, this is back before not fake DJing, but it's kind of cheating when you got a CDJ and a computer and you're looking at a DJ just like this on the computer. I don't know why that doesn't feel as soulful to me as when you actually have vinyl and you're mixing, right? Well, I got to be exposed to some of the most legendary DJs of all time. And it was pretty special. It was a pretty special era because now we live in this day and age where, you could just get your music offline. You don't have to go to a record store. There's something about touching the vinyl, and smelling it. There's a smell or the sound of the crackling vinyl, of the needle in the groove, and watching the mastery of a DJ mixing two records. And you better not let it skip or, it's going to jar the whole party. This is what it sounds like. Or it sounds like this. Or it could sound like this. Like a dog getting hit by a car. And you don't want to do that. You got to be smooth, baby. So I watched these DJs coming up, and I was always, I don't want to say jealous, but I was always curious, and I always wanted to be able to do that myself. Well, luckily with this video game, guys, you're going to be able to be a star DJ at home because you're not going to go, you can't do it because you're taking the files and mixing them together yourself, and you can't do any wrong. I mean, maybe will sound a little bit off, but you're going to impress Grandma Willie. Your grandma's name is Willie. I just named her. You're going to impress Grandma Willie. Your parents are going to be in the other room when you're visiting them for Christmas, playing this game. What's that amazing music coming from the living room? Oh, no big deal. I'm just mixing and mashing on FUSER, Willie. That could happen. So I just want you guys to appreciate the majesticness that is being able to DJ. I mean, I don't think I could do it. I've tried before, and it takes a different type of, you got to have a certain ear for it, okay? And a certain thing, there's obviously DJs on the radio, you hear, oh, this is a DJ Gooby Goo on K Boo Boo Boo. Well, he's just playing records on the radio. We're talking actually mixing and mashing, which is a whole different in itself. It's a whole different art form. I just letting you know firsthand, someone who's been through it and been in the trenches. I've seen it, I've experienced it, and it's no joke. Oh man, some of those days I can't even tell you. There'd be all types of beautiful women around. They all want to go, the beautiful ladies want to be around the hot new music in the DJ booth. I remember Puff Daddy, P. Diddy coming to the club, Jay-Z. You'd see all the rappers. And guess what? When your friend's DJing and they walk in, there's politics involved. Jay-Z walks in, you better play a Jay-Z song to, honor and respect and win his friendship. So I'd watch my friends, Jay-Z walk in, you play a Jay-Z record. That's magical moments, baby. And no one's going to take them away from me, okay? They're up here forever. And you can't take those Krispies away from me. They're ingrained in my DNA, all right? All right, let's get into this. Let's find Stretch Armstrong. I hope he answers. I'm sure he's quarantined up in New York somewhere, this guy. Let's give him a little ringle here. Welcome to the show, Stretch Armstrong.
Simon Rex.
Good to see you via internet.
Yes, it's good to see you in any format, any zeros and ones, real person photograph. I mean, it's always good to see you.
Binary is better than nothing. Now, thank you for being a part of the show. You make a lot of sense being a guest of this show, as it is a DJ-themed regalia, you being a famous DJ. Let's get into that. My first question to you. Tell me how you ended your virginity video game-wise. What was your first video game experience?
Oh, come on. I'm old.
Yeah, what, Pong?
I mean, certainly Pong yeah. on ski vacations in Maine. Pong was like, I wanted to get off the mountain and then sit myself in front of the table Pong.
Yeah.
Stargate Defender.
Ooh.
Centipede, Millipede.
Whoa.
What's the one where you're shooting down on this like three-dimensional ridge at the aliens?
Oh yeah, what was that one? I see it. It was really. Oh, that was an old one. It was called like Phoenix or something, or not Phoenix. Anyway, you like me. Old.
Real talk.
Yeah,
I used to rock that game.
What was it called again? Like Larynx.
Larynx.
I don't know.
Larynx.
Yeah, it was an oldie but goodie. So you come from the old school. You're Atari.
And then in television.
Oh yes. Ooh,
brought it home. There was Atari, of course. And but you know what? My mother, Eastern European, my father, a New York Jew, they weren't having it.
Right.
No, I had to go to other people's houses for that.
Well, I remember in television or ColecoVision was like, my boy got in television. They had the different remote. It was a big deal. And then, of course, Atari 2600, my earliest memories, video games. So we grew up with the invention similar to hip hop. We grew up with video games and hip hop. Interesting to see how far the regalia has come in both genres. Wouldn't you say?
I would agree with you. Yes.
I saw.
It's incredible that in our lifetime we've witnessed the inception of both of these things, and now they have really taken over the world. All in the span of our lifetime.
Yes, and
that's pretty wild.
I saw you the other day as I was very excited to watch the DJ battle between Premier and RZA on Instagram Live. I believe I saw you commenting in there. You were in there, right?
I was like a machine gun commenter. Yes.
What did that? That was that was one of the most nostalgic, fun. Brought me back to something that was New York in the 90s hip hop era that I haven't felt in a long time. Was it magical for you too?
Yeah, it was, that harkens back to a time, and I think you could relate to this, when there were a lot of things that were important to us, in the 90s, going to clubs and hearing incredible music, listening to the radio, being up on the culture, right? But like really like having your finger on the pulse of what was going on, and just knowing like every new single that was coming out, and it really evoked a certain feeling of just kind of I don't know. It's hard to describe it. But
it's ineffable.
The other night when we experienced it, we really felt it. It was
magical.
and it's, I mean, across the board, people were losing their shit.
Yes, people were having, it was, yeah, you could swear. We could always beep it out. Yeah, you could swear. That was, I don't know what it was, but every comment in there, I mean, everybody was, and almost 200,000 people at once watching. I mean, that's a large amount of human beings. It was 200,000, I think, at one point.
But did you see who was making comments? It was like everybody, like all your favorite people in hip hop from the last 20 years were in there.
And someone's had a perfect comment. It's I don't think Premier won or RZA won. We won. That was awesome to get to see. And I've always been more of a Premier fan than anyone. Who's your favorite hip hop producer? I'm imagining they're going to be out of New York. You're a New Yorker. Who's your favorite hip hop producer of all time?
I mean, I really don't have one. You know, there are certain records that I couldn't love more than I do, and they're produced by different guys. You know,
who? Give me a couple.
I mean, you go back to the mid late '80s. Said G from Ultramagnetic MCs. DJ Muggs, DJ Premier, Pete Rock, the Beat Miners. I mean, I think a lot of people to this day assume that since Q-Tip is the voice of A Tribe Called Quest, along with Phife, that Ali Shaheed is the guy making the beats. And Ali Shaheed he's always been a great producer, and he's done incredible stuff. He's doing incredible stuff now. But Q-Tip, I mean, my God, that guy
he produced Nas. What was his New York State? No, not New York State of Mind. What was the Nas song he did?
One Love.
One Love. Oh my God!
But I'm just saying. But even all the Tribe stuff, a lot of that is Q-Tip.
Right.
Large Professor.
Diamond D is one of the best rapper producers. Diamond D. Diamond and the Psychotic Neurotics. That album. They named it after us.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't think of them as neurotic until you just said it, because I would not picture his crew from the Bronx being neurotic.
Listen, growing up in the Bronx, you got to be a little neurotic.
You got to worry about your surroundings. I get it.
I mean, there's just so many guys that are incredible. But you know, in terms of course RZA, but in terms of relevance and magnitude of catalog and just being able to be on top of it in the mix from the 80s up till now. I mean, Premier, there's really no one who comes close.
There's an interesting thing where you can tell a producer's sound. That's when you know they did something right. Like, for instance, you know a Primo beat a mile away. You know a RZA beat a mile away. But I was telling Samantha Ronson on a separate episode that I'll never forget the moment that I was standing outside of Don Hills and I heard through the brick wall the muffled sound of Shook One's Mobb Deep for the first time, and it was so chilling and beautiful and dark and ominous, and it was 1996 or whatever, and I come running inside and you're DJing, and I come up to the turntables and I'm like, what is this? And you're like, Mobb Deep. I'm like, Mobb Deep? You're like, yeah. And I'm looking at the words Mobb Deep spinning around on the record. It was like one of the white vinyl presses, maybe. It wasn't even out yet. And I was just like, the name, the sound, that era of the 90s in New York that we had is kind of like our parents having the 60s or something. Like I lived in New York 93 to 98, so I got to experience arguably the greatest era in hip hop in New York City and be a part of it.
And you, that was 94.
That was 94. Oh my God.
But yeah, it was great. You know, kids don't understand, like back then you couldn't just get your record on the radio.
Right.
I mean, you know, now, like, you know, you can produce your thing on your laptop, get a zillion hits on SoundCloud, and now people are taking note. Next thing you know, it's all happening. I mean, there were two ways to get your records played back then. One was clubs, DJs in clubs playing it. The other was on mix shows. And the gates was really being manned by DJs. I mean, DJs were the ones that were really dictating what flew and what sank. So just the fact that you could hear a record like that, a record of that import in a club for the first time. I mean, records aren't broken in clubs anymore.
No.
I mean, records aren't really even broken anymore. I mean,
Yeah, it was a different time. And I felt like that was the end of the era pre-internet, cell phone, social media, which was, I'm lucky that half of our life we've had both. We got to right down the line. We're roughly the same age. We had no cell phone, internet, social media, and then second half with. And there was something special about discovering something back then. It was like you earned it almost, or you found it, or you'd go down to Canal Street and get a mixtape. And
the ritual of discovery is incredibly important. And I think the things that we had to go through to get music, whether it was staying up late to record my radio show or staying up on a Friday or Saturday and not going out and recording Red Alert or Marley Marl, or going to the record store and making sure you were one of those people that could get their hands on the promo that was just dropped at the store. That ritual, I think, really gave the music a lot more meaning.
Yeah. It made it like personal. Yeah. It made it, you're connected with it.
You had to work for it.
Right. Now, you've started off with your radio show. What year are we talking about that you and Bobbito had your show? What year did it start?
So Bobbito Garcia and I met in the late summer of 1990. And a few months later, I had an opportunity to be on the radio on 89.9 WKCR, which is King's College Radio, which is Columbia University's radio station. It's actually the first FM station on the planet. Really? The guy that invented FM, which stands for frequency modulation, did it in a laboratory at Columbia University. And his last name was what? Armstrong.
Oh, really?
No relation.
Really? Not a very common name.
Yeah. So that was in 90, and we had a nearly 10-year run, which, at the time it felt like 50 years, but
right.
It was nearly a decade.
Now, this is back. I remember recently I remember we did a mixtape together, which probably wouldn't fly anymore, called the White Album, where I covered a bunch of famous rap songs done by Caucasian males. Right. Nowadays, that might come off a little non-PC, but at the time, a few years ago, it was my Weird Al Yankovic album where I covered songs and we did it together. And I remember around then you were collecting and looking for old cassette tapes. I think I remember you tweeting out like, "Does anyone have and you were trying to gather the old shows that had been recorded that people?" Because I remember back in the day, you to find a hip hop song, you'd have to go and listen to the radio at the right time and have your record button ready to go and record. Right. So how did you and then you and Bobbito recently came out with your movie. What was the title again?
Stretch and Bobbito, Radio That Changed Lives.
Right. And that documentary, we went to the premiere in LA, and then that led to, I feel there was a sort of a renaissance for you guys to come back. And now I noticed you have your own show on NPR. Is that correct?
Well, we had 2 seasons on NPR.
Let's talk about that. I want to, how can people hear it?
So Bob and I, we made a film about our radio show. Unfortunately, the term for Netflix just ended a few months ago, so it's not on Netflix. But it was on Netflix for like 4 years. It was on Showtime for a number of years. It's still available on iTunes, Vimeo, blah blah blah. And it's a film that's not really just about us, about our friendship, our relationship, the music. It's about the listeners. It's about the artists that came through. It's about New York City. There's a lot of different narratives that are woven through. So it's not just a celebratory piece about Stretch and Bobbito at all. It really gives you a kind of a wide picture about what was going on in New York as it related to hip hop music and culture. We did a screening at NPR headquarters in DC, and we did a Q&A afterwards, and we just smashed it. It was just a great night, and a lot of the NPR executives were there, and they were like, "Yo, we got to get these guys involved at NPR somehow." And we ended up with a podcast called "What's Good with Stretch and Bobbito." It was in a sense, it was a groundbreaking podcast because of all the properties in the NPR family, which are vast. Its listenership was the most diverse group of anything they've ever had or have now, which is phenomenal. Talking about, geographic, racially, all the different ways you could break something down. We had the most diverse audience, which is really amazing. So we did that for 2 years, and we are currently embarking on the creation of another show called the actual Stretch and Bobbito Show.
All right.
On a different platform, which I think would have probably been released already if it wasn't for the pandemic, which has kind of put a hold on everything. In addition to the podcast, we recorded an album with a band we put together called the M19s. We put an album out. It just dropped a few months ago. It's available on every format.
Was the M19 an homage to COVID-19, or is this precursor?
This is pre-COVID.
Okay, pre-COVID. Yeah. Okay.
It's the original 19.
Got it.
It's called No Requests, and you could buy it on CD, on cassette, on vinyl. You could stream it. You could download it. Stretch and Bobbito and the M19s. No Requests. Is
it called No Requests because as a DJ, I imagine over the years, I've seen my friends who are DJs get so frustrated when people come up and request a song as if they're telling you what to do with your job. Is that an annoying thing for a DJ?
It's pretty annoying.
So what's a common one? Like they come up and ask for a current pop song that's not even familiar, that's not even part of the set that you're doing. Like, what is it that's annoying about it? Interrupting the flow. They're drunk. It's a girl that wants to hear. What is it?
It's all those things. It's nobody's really dancing. This is what you should play. Right. And you look at, you're like, what?
Right. Oh, they hold up the phone with the song title now. Oh, that's a new thing. Wow. Oh, wow. I'm thinking before those days, they would yell over.
That happens all the time. Like,
wow.
I've been in clubs where you've got 5 people flashing the phone in front of your face.
It's insulting because they're telling you you're not doing your job good or something.
It just shows a level of entitlement that certain people have these days, which is really out of control. But it's also, the album's called No Requests, also because people would expect Bob and I, with our first actual album that we've done together, to be putting out a hip hop album that sounds like 90s hip hop. And we did that already. So basically we're telling everyone, just chill, work with us, check this out.
Right.
90s hip hop is such a thing now, but when we were living it, we were a part of, a handful of people that was kind of guiding tastes. It wasn't a foregone conclusion that what we know today was going to be. We had to, everyone played their role in making it happen. So, and it's the same thing with this record. We wanted to make an album that was entertaining, but also enlightening and a little bit challenging, just like our radio show was.
Do you feel that anybody's ever mistaken you for one of the Beastie Boys, or that you were all 3 of them combined if they adopted a DJ Baby? Because you have the New York Beastie Boys DNA.
A DJ Baby.
Yeah, maybe your name. Yeah, I see it. And there's
the Beastie Boys are so famous that no one's ever confused me for one of them.
Okay,
I'm also much taller than any of them.
Well, you can't tell on camera, but you're 6'7" adult man, human.
I'm 6'6". There's a photograph of me and Ad Rock giving each other a hip hop hug.
Oh,
it's I'm
which pre-COVID can't do that anymore. What is your quarantine life looking like? Are you doing any streaming DJ stuff from the home? I imagine someone like you is a crafty, smart human who knows how to adapt with the times, and you're not going to sit around and do nothing. You're going to think of something. Is there any way for you to be working from home, live sets? What does a DJ do during these trying times?
A DJ becomes a public access television producer.
Oh, is it for real?
I mean, isn't that what all these sets look like?
Pretty much. Well, yeah, every newscaster, it's obnoxious how they reporting from home in front of their books. You ever notice that on there? Everyone, okay, yeah, we get it. You read a lot of books. And if you pan up, let's see your records real quick. Could we show? See, you have quite a collection. Oh, now going up there into your record collection, is there one record that's the one most valuable, rare, original Ferrante and Teicher? I don't know. You know what I'm talking about? Isn't that all?
Ferrante.
Yeah,
What?
I used to sample them when I made beats. Alchemist taught, I think Evidence taught me about them. But you know, like, is there a rare gem you have that's like, this is the only one I'm not getting rid of?
Uh,
A lot of them.
there's a lot of heat.
I
out
heard
there.
you have the best record collection. It's a known thing, almost like an
No,
artist
no.
told you.
I by no means have the best record collection.
Really?
But yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I've got a nice collection.
See, that's a humble. I can tell by your
Yeah.
modest, humble approach to that sentence. By the way, you shrugged one shoulder and looked to the right. That you actually have an amazing collection. Collecting vinyl is almost. I dabbled in producing music as a hobby for a while, and I remember I had the MPC, and I'd go record hunting, and you go find some records, and that was one of the fun things to do, was to like come home with your records. Oh, I got a fire sample. Were you ever into producing, or was it always just DJing?
No, I dabbled in the '90s, but I was that neurotic guy that never liked what I did, so I wouldn't really want to share with anybody. And I would sneak things into the mix on the radio and not even say that it was me.
Like, but how, if no one was rapping on it, would you put an acapella over one of your beats? How would you do that?
Yeah. But my like the crowning achievement of that maneuver was when I hooked up this beat, and I didn't spend a lot of time on it. It was like just a drum loop over a jazz sample, with I was like doing some drops and just really basic stuff. And I put it on DAT.
Digital analog tape.
Digital audio tape.
Audio tape. Sorry, I'm an amateur.
Digital analog tape.
Okay, that's an oxymoron. Okay, sorry.
So Nas came up that night.
Ooh.
And it was time for him to get on. And of course, Nas was his album had come out, but like to us, he was already like the king.
Illmatic, or it was written Illmatic.
Pre-Illmatic.
Pre-Illmatic. Wow.
Yeah, it was the second time he had come up. He had come up 2 years prior and destroyed it. Just off what he did on Live at the Barbecue. The anticipation for his album Illmatic was insane. So he came up the second time, kind of announcing the imminence of Illmatic. And it's time for him to rhyme. I was like, yo, you want to beat? Yo, check this out. I put the headphones on him. He's like, yeah, I can fuck with that. I was like, oh, word. I didn't say it was mine.
Wow.
He rhymed over it, and that's that crazy freestyle from '93.
That might be, as a producer, I don't think it gets much better than Nas not only approving but rhyming over your beat. I mean, you've got to work with the legends and all of them, and you're like you're a pillar in the DJ world, especially coming out of New York. I watched Mark Ronson, in the booth watch you. I watched AM learn from Mark. I watched it kind of started from you. Was there any DJs that you absorbed game from back in the day?
Listen, I was shameless when I was coming up. I mean, no one knew who I was. So like, I didn't care if people saw me sweating the DJ. Like, I developed a technique where I could look tall. I'm also tall, so I could look over whatever was in front of the turntables.
Yeah.
And I would turn my head with the record so I could catch.
Wow. So
I could read the labels. I'd even be in there with a Walkman that records. And I would read shit, and I would say whatever I found, like there's a phone number or a label or any information. And I was, it's I'm not embarrassed by this now. I wasn't back then. I think what it reminds me of is just how relentless I was back then. And we're talking about a time when like a dude like me, there was no blueprint, no pathway that was already established for someone like me to assert themselves in that arena, right? I mean, sure, there were guys downtown that DJ'd, but to become what I eventually became, like it was just something that I wanted to do, and you really couldn't tell me I wasn't going to do it.
Right.
But guys like Kid Capri. Clark Kent was the first professional DJ that I actually met. I was already DJing professionally at Mars, and being that I came from a neighborhood where there were no DJs, like I didn't know any DJs, so I'm already DJing professionally, and I meet DJ Clark Kent, my idol. It's the first DJ I met, and he and I became friends. I went to his house in Crown Heights, in '90. I remember this, older Jamaican woman was like sucking her teeth at me, accusing me of being an undercover cop.
Wow.
Like, police. I was like, oh, I'm just going to Clark Kent's house.
Wow.
Check out the beats, man. So and Clark and I are, the dearest of friends.
Wow.
3 decades later.
I mean, and that was pretty much the beginning of it, because it started not much before. I mean, we're talking, DJing started in the Bronx in late 70s? I mean, is it Kool Herc was the first? Is it
early
Kool
70s?
Herc? Early 70s. Okay,
yeah.
So it started with Kool Herc, and the MC was the master of ceremonies, they would take a break from a record, and then they would do a little shout out at a live party, and that was sort of the beginning of hip hop, essentially. So you're talking,
they would do little rhymes to pick up the DJs, and
right.
then those little rhymes turned into actual rapping, and then
right.
And then Young Thug.
And then Dirt Nasty. And yeah, well, okay. So now obviously DJing takes a lot of talent. This video game we're going to check out right now could make anybody be a Clark Kent, a Stretch Armstrong, a DJ AM, okay? So someone like me who doesn't know how to DJ, I could feel the majesticness. And as you can see, it looks like a good party. You see that? So you pull the track, you put it in, and boom. Even I could do that, and I'm not a DJ by any means. So anybody at home watching this, you could have, look at that. Oh, select your favorite vocals from this song. Oh, you select the bass line from here. And next thing you know, you're making music, baby.
Question though, is this a game where you gotta try to test your skills and get points, or you're just remixing stuff and having fun?
I don't think it's a competition. There is a point system, but it's really just about jamming and feeling the magic, which is creating music. Even though you're not creating, you're mixing, you're doing the mashup. You know what I'm saying? You're mashing it up.
I mean, I'd like to be in a club and have everyone on an app, and they can send me coins, not actual coins, but I could just have the phone here and be like, oh yeah, they're enjoying it.
Oh,
because looking at the crowd,
right.
She would never know. It's so dark.
Right. Now, you've always been able to move the crowd. I've watched you before. I've seen you at your best. So someone at home in their living room, they're just going to do this for their friend, their grandma, their dog, their cat. So they're going to get to have this experience at home. Not everyone gets to know what it's like being a DJ like you. But I do remember, I didn't correct you, one time you had to go pee, and you left me at the DJ table at a party in LA, and I almost had a panic attack because I don't know how to DJ, and you're like, I'll be right back, I gotta go to the bathroom. And I was like, shoot, what if the song ends? I didn't
tell you press this button.
I think you did, but I was freaking out. I think even thinking about it, I'm freaking out because I have trauma. I have post-traumatic stress from a traumatic experience when I DJ'd for Mickey Avalon on tour in Europe with the Chili Peppers, where all I did really was hit play on a CDJ, right? I hit play on a CDJ, and it was one long 30-minute track, and I had a cheat code with the time. Well, someone was throwing stuff at us, and an apple hit the CDJ, and in front of 35,000 people in Poland, the music went out, and I was responsible. And I had to find out where it was, and it was the longest 10 seconds of my life, and I had to cue it up. But if I didn't write that cheat sheet, I wouldn't have found the 10 minutes and 32 seconds or whatever it was, and I brought it right back. But that moment traumatized me, and then when you left me to go to the bathroom, that all came back up.
I'm so sorry, son. You should have just grabbed me and said, you can't go.
No, but luckily you came back, and it was like a 3-minute song, and we let it ride. And then I was very thankful that it didn't have to, because I wouldn't have even known where to begin. Point being, people at home can now they could go to the bathroom and DJ at the same time. Well, not at the same time on the floor, but you get what I'm saying. They don't pee on the floor.
I was tinkering with the game before, and the cool thing about it is that I think it's a little entry point for some people that might not even really know about what a DJ might be able to do, and be like, oh, I actually want to DJ now.
There you go. They might open some new horizons for them. I want to thank you for your time. I know you're a busy guy and you're quarantined. I'm going to let you get back to your record collection and your food that you ordered. I have a good feeling you ordered Caribbean food. Am I right? What did you order? Oh, you're vegan.
We've been cooking.
Oh,
we've been cooking.
Are you still a vegan?
I am, and we're cooking up a storm here.
Cooking too lately, and I'm loving it. I've been cooking.
So I cracked the code for the creamy chia pudding. I cracked the code.
Okay. Like that's a video game pun. I like what you did there. A cheat code.
My chia pudding always, the seeds, they stayed cracking. Like you want it, you don't want the crack.
Oh, you want a soft,
You buy it from Juice Press and there's no crack. You're like, what's up? I cracked that code.
Well, thank you.
Add more milk for the soak.
Okay.
Than they tell you to.
Well, not real milk because you're vegan. What kind of milk?
Hemp milk.
There you
almond
go.
Milk, cashew
oat milk. What's your favorite fake milk? And then I'll let you go. What's your favorite?
It depends what the application is for.
Cereal.
Coffee, hemp milk. Cereal, almond milk.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not vegan, but I have been cooking a lot lately, and I've been loving it. The quarantine's actually been good to me.
You're months away from being vegan.
You think?
In the tree. You got to be vegan in the tree.
That's true. There's a lot of vegans out there. Well, it's either one or the other. It's like you're either eating a cow right off the farm or you're raw vegan. You're raw vegan.
Do they call it the tree?
No, but you just now they will.
Do they do that?
Well, I haven't heard that yet, but I like how you just said it with such confidence. All right. Thank you for your time. I love you, brother. Get back to your quarantine.
Simon, man. Just on some friendship shit. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Love you, brother. Be good. All right.
My man.
Stretch Armstrong. If you don't know, now you know. That dude is responsible for so much history in the DJ world. So thank you guys for watching. We'll have some more episodes coming at you. Hey, I hope you guys are staying crispy in your quarantino. This has been Between the Speakers. We'll see you next time, baby. Ow.